Okay. I thought since I beat the hell out of the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, The Secret of the Bell, that I would talk about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. The original. I'm not talking about the book, I'm talking about Disney's other movie. You know, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Good Lord. You know, I wanted to do this because I realized that did I really just bash a sequel? Well, the answer to that is yes, I did, and no, I'm not apologizing for it. But let's talk about The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is it's one of those movies that has stood the test of time. I mean, ever since I heard Hellfire, guess what? It's been stuck in my head. Literally stuck in my head and it won't go away. So, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, even though it did flop, it's an hour and 31 minutes, and it's about a man named Quasimodo who is just seeking to be liked by the public simply because Quasimodo is disformed. And, the guy that raised him in isolation, Frollo. Yeah, if you don't know, he's the antagonist to the movie, and Quasi is the protagonist, antagonist, bad guy, protagonist, good guy. Just watch the first 5 minutes when, Frollo kills a woman on the steps of a church, then proceeds to pick up baby Quasimodo, look at him, he is horrified by what he sees, and then proceeds to drop him into a well, leaving the baby to die of a, harsh and painful way of drowning. Now, if you have actually watched the movie, you will know that's not what happens at all. What happens is Frollo picks up baby Quasi, looks at him, is horrified, and he was going to drop baby Quasimodo into a well. But because he feared of going to hell, which I will get to that in a minute, he decides to raise Quasi as his own. But he does have a specific request. Allow him to be in the cathedral so nobody knows. And then Frollo just walks off and says, maybe he can be of some use to me. Yeah. 100% bad guy. So, Quasi isn't liked by Frollo or the people. And then the only not people, the only things that he's liked by are the gargoyles. Which, oh, by the way, why on earth? I will get to that notification later. Why on earth are the? I mean, yes, the gargoyles were real in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but when somebody walked in, guess what they did? They turned to stone. They were incognito. But in the second movie, do they do that? They do that, but they don't do it like you think. Instead, they're able to talk to people, which they never did that, except to Quasi. Um, so, anyway, back to this. As you can tell by the little trailer that's been going on for quite some time, the animation, unlike Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, is a lot better. Now, you may be wondering, well, it was 1996. Yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, The Secret of the Bell, came out in 2002, so there's no excuse. So, anyway, so along the way, we get introduced to Esmeralda. And Esmeralda is this beautiful girl who shows Quasimodo kindness for the first time ever. And so when Quasimodo is singing Heaven's Light in the film, he's basically saying that he would like to be in a relationship with Esmeralda, but if he can't, it's okay. He just wants to remember the kindness that she showed him. Esmeralda is a lot better than blonde girl who all she wanted to do was walk the tightrope. Okay. But let's get back to this. So, Frollo, later on in the movie, Frollo gets a sight of Esmeralda, and she's beautiful. But unlike where Quasimodo would like to be in a relationship with her, but is fine with the fact of knowing that she showed him kindness, Frollo in the song Hellfire makes it perfectly clear that he wants to be in a relationship with her. And he's not going to take no for an answer. Because in Hellfire, he does state several times that she will be his. If not, she's going to die. Okay. So... Oh, and Frollo is a lot better than Sartouche or Bardouche or Douche. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep track on the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what I'm here to discuss. But every single time I mention something about the hunchback of Notre Dame, it makes me realize just how uh, just, just how, oh, what's the word? Oh, yes, just how meaningless the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 Secret of the Bell was. So, what happens? Quasimodo goes to Esmeralda, but Esmeralda fallen in love with Phoebus. I think that's how you pronounce it. Phoebus? Phoebus? I think it's Phoebus. Uh, Phoebus. He sees that, and his heart is broken. So I guess that's why Disney decided to give Quasimodo a girlfriend. Even though he falls for that same thing twice. Look, I'm sorry, but Esmeralda is called a gypsy in the film. She's also called a witch. Because in Hellfire, Frollo says, "It's not my fault. I'm not to blame. It is the gypsy girl, the witch who sent this flame." Which I'll get into Hellfire a little bit, in a little bit, even though I've already done a cover and analyzed the song when I reacted to Anapatsu's cover of Hellfire. But it made me realize something. Hellfire proves how self-unaware Frollo is. And allow me to explain what I mean by that. Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man. Of my virtue I am justly proud. He's prideful, but then he goes on to Beata Maria, you know I'm much purer than the common, vulgar, weak, licentious crowd. Licentious means promiscuous. Okay. So, Frollo, after the conversation with the guard, where he tells the guard to get lost after the guard said, yeah, the girl you put in the cathedral's gone. Jesus Christ, Lord Almighty. First off, Frollo not only is evil, but he's also an idiot. Did he not really think that Esmeralda was going to find some way to get out? Okay. So let's move on. The voice acting is very good. Still holds up. The animation holds up. The songs. Seems like everyone can pick out a song from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and even if you do not know the entire song, you at least know a few words. Now, do you remember in Hellfire when Frollo says that I'll find her even if I have to burn down all of Paris? Yeah, he burned down Paris. And there's a part in the movie where after Quasi got his heart broke, unfortunately, he saves Esmeralda from getting burned at the stake. Yes, they did do that back then. They would literally set you alive. Set you a blazing inferno and just hear your screams and do nothing about it. But Quasi, because he's so freaking strong, he just with one arm breaks the ropes, puts Esmeralda on his shoulder, and runs off. Okay, now let's go to the end of the movie, where Quasimodo saves Esmeralda, and Esmeralda falls in love with Phoebus, or Phoebus, or however you pronounce his name. In the book, in the book, the guy she falls in love with is a complete and utter. He doesn't like anyone. He's a complete. He was a complete and utter douche. Douche. He was a douche. And Quasimodo doesn't get the girl. Instead, what he does is he murders Frollo by pushing him off a tower. And the ending, which Disney changed, because we're Disney, we have to have a happy ending for every one of our films. In the original, in Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame, Esmeralda gets hung on attempted murder. Frollo gets pushed to his death by Quasimodo because he's mourning the loss of Esmeralda. And then Quasi embraces Esmeralda's corpse until he dies of starvation. In the Disney version, Quasi and Esmeralda are still alive. Frollo does die. But Quasi is very much alive. Esmeralda's very much alive. And what do you think the public thinks of Quasimodo? Yeah, he's still not shown any respect by the people. Okay. So I'm gonna go on a little rant here. Because the Hunchback of Notre Dame, while it flopped, it's still a terrific movie. Hunchback of Notre Dame 2? Yeah, is hot garbage. I mean, yes. Quasi didn't get Esmeralda in the end. But that's because her heart was leading her to Phoebus or Phoebus or Douchey McDoucher. So she falls in love with him, and everyone lives happily ever after. Now let's go to Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, which I already discussed, but because this film has made it very apparent how very unnecessary 2 was, guess what? I'm going to rant some more on it. You see, my problem with the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 is it's not that it was a direct to media to DVD and VHS. That's not my problem. My problem is the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, unless they are giving us a glimpse into what Quasimodo would go through in hell, which, well, in Disney hell. Yeah. Which that can't happen because Quasimodo is still alive. So, what was the point? I guess Disney felt sorry for Quasimodo and gave him a bad hour and 10-minute movie where where the plot makes no sense. The villain, he's no Frollo, he's no Claude Frollo. Quasimodo just seems like he's really hamming it up for whatever reason. And you mean to tell me that that Quasimodo 2 is a good movie? It's not. I'll give you a perfect illustration. Quasimodo 2 reminds me of a 2.5 Men episode where Alan buys a bowl and puts it in the living room, and Charlie hates the bowl. So Charlie tells Alan to get rid of it. He does get rid of it. Oh wait, no he doesn't. Alan fills it with butterscotch candies and puts it on the coffee table in the living room. Well, one of the rooms. Yeah. The sitting area, I'll call it. So the sitting area. Charlie was at a bar and he picked up some woman who happened to be Chelsea in other seasons. Well, yeah, in other seasons, and a fight ensues. Alan basically says that it's a good bowl. Alan asks the future Chelsea, and she says it's nice. He said 2 against 1. Charlie said that there was no picking sides, and that's when Charlie blows it. How does Charlie blow it? Charlie blows it by basically saying that the woman that he brought home was nothing good, was nothing more than a one-night stand. Needless to say, future Chelsea gets mad and storms out. Then Alan and Charlie get into a more heated argument. That heated argument is because of Well, Alan doesn't think. Alan somehow visualizes the bowl as a semblance of like respect and everything. So they're arguing over the bowl, right? And Charlie just picks it up and hucks it in the fireplace. And Alan gets upset. And he goes over to his mother's. Now, why did that remind me of that particular... Why did the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 remind... Oh, this is the key part. This is the key part. When Alan was telling his mother about the fight... Oh, and Teddy. We can't forget about Teddy because he was her boyfriend at the time. She responds and it's right on point. She goes, "So this is about a bowl." He goes, "No, it's about my place in the house, basically." So my final thoughts on the Hunchback of Notre Dame and the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. And by the way, this will be my final video of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Well, on the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's been fun. I only planned to make one video and turned out to be a series of videos, which I like it. It was unexpected. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Please, please, if you can, watch it. The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. Do exactly what Charlie did to the bowl. Except when you find it, make sure the fire's on. Because you're probably going to want to burn that sucker once you get it home. I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.